Clara drifted in the lifeboat, shivering from the cold and trembling from the shock, but alive. As the night stretched on, and rescuers arrived, her thoughts never left Leo. She remembered the way his eyes had shone with courage, the warmth of his hand as he steadied her, and the selfless bravery that had ensured her survival. Though he was gone, his presence lingered in every heartbeat, every breath of the crisp sea air, and every memory of the Aurora dot in the years that followed. Clara carried Leo's memory like a guiding light. She traveled, sketched, and spoke of courage, freedom, and love lessons she had learned on that fateful voyage. She refused to let grief anchor her, instead allowing it to remind her of the extraordinary bond they had shared. In quiet moments, she would imagine him beside her, smiling and urging her to live fully, to embrace the beauty of life with the same passion he had carried. Though time moved forward, the story of the Aurora and the love it had nurtured remained etched in her heart. She realized that some journeys end abruptly, that some lives are lost to fate. Yet the love that touches the soul never truly dies. It lingers, shaping who we are and inspiring the courage to live boldly. As Clara gazed across the endless horizon, she whispered to the wind, "Some journeys end, but true love remains in memory." And in that whisper, Leo lived on, forever part of her story, forever part of hers and the world's memory of the Aurora. Night fell over the Aurora, and the sea, which had seemed so serene during the day, turned dark and menacing. A cold wind whipped across the deck, carrying with it the faint warning of a storm or, perhaps, something even more dangerous. Passengers huddled in their cabins, unaware of the looming threat, while the ship sailed boldly into the unknown. Suddenly, a deafening crash echoed through the hull. A massive iceberg had struck the vessel, sending a shudder that ran from bow to stern. Panic erupted like wildfire. The once grand halls became chaotic corridors of fear. Crew members shouted orders. Lifeboats were rushed into preparation, and passengers clung to each other in terror. Clara's heart pounded as she realized Leo was nowhere in sight. Ignoring her fear, she dashed through the slippery decks, calling his name, her voice almost drowned by the cries of others. Meanwhile, Leo was fighting his own battle. He had already helped a group of frightened passengers toward the lifeboats, guiding children and elderly alike, refusing to think of his own safety. Their paths twisted and turned amid the chaos. Separated by the throng of panicked travelers, waves crashed against the deck, furniture overturned, and the roaring wind seemed determined to tear them apart. Clara found herself trapped near the bow, the icy water creeping dangerously close, while Leo, spotting her from a distance, fought through the chaos to reach her. At last, he grasped her hand, guiding her toward a lifeboat. Their eyes met, a silent promise passing between them, and for a fleeting moment, the world outside ceased to exist. But the ship groaned and tilted, reminding them of the peril all around. With one final desperate act, Leo pushed Clara into the lifeboat, holding her steady as others helped her climb in. She turned to look back at him, but he could not follow. The roar of the storm swallowed his figure as the Aurora began its final descent into the icy depths. Clara, trembling and terrified, realized the cost of their survival. Leo had ensured hers at the expense of his own. In that moment, love and sacrifice intertwined, leaving a memory that would last a lifetime. Days passed on the Aurora, and what had started as a fleeting glance between Leo and Clara slowly grew into a quiet, undeniable connection. They found themselves stealing moments together, away from the watchful eyes of Mr. Harrington and the ever-present Victor. On a secluded corner of the promenade deck, Leo would sketch the sunset over the endless waves, while Clara watched, fascinated by the way he captured light and motion with just a few strokes of his pencil. They shared stories of their dreams and fears, laughing quietly at jokes only they understood, the world around them fading into a blur of sparkling water and golden sunlight. One night, under a sky blanketed with stars, Leo and Clara wandered along the upper deck, their hands brushing in tentative, electric moments. They spoke of freedom, of life beyond the rigid expectations of society, and for the first time, Clara felt truly seen, not as a daughter, a socialite, or a possession, but as a person capable of choosing her own path. The thrill of secrecy made their bond all the more intoxicating. Yet, tension simmered beneath the surface. Mr. Harrington noticed her distant glances and whispered conversations, his control tightening like a vice. Victor, oblivious to the depth of Clara's feelings, flaunted his wealth and charm, attempting to win her attention with extravagant gestures. Every lavish dinner, every glittering party, every polished ballroom dance reminded Clara of the invisible walls surrounding her life. Leo, aware of the class divide between them, never let it deter him. He admired Clara not for her wealth, but for her courage, her longing for independence, and the spark of rebellion she carried within her. Their stolen moments became a sanctuary amid the opulence and constraint of the ship. By the time the Aurora sailed into open waters, their friendship had blossomed into love, fragile, forbidden, and exhilarating. The passengers around them were unaware of the quiet storm of emotions brewing on the decks. Yet, as their hearts drew closer, the first whispers of fate began to stir, hinting that the world around them, luxury status, and even the seemingly invincible ship itself would soon be tested in ways neither could have imagined. Among the throngs of excited passengers was Leo Dunn, a young artist with paint-stained hands and eyes that sparkled with curiosity. Born into modest means, he had never seen such grandeur before. Yet the Aurora awakened a sense of wonder he had only ever imagined in his sketches. For him, this voyage was more than a journey across the sea. Was a chance to witness the world, to capture its beauty, and perhaps to find something or someone that could change his life forever. Then there was Clara Harrington, a young woman draped in silks and diamonds, moving gracefully among the wealthy passengers. From the outside, she seemed to have everything: elegance, privilege, and a life of comfort. But inside, Clara felt trapped by the expectations of her controlling father, Mr. Harrington, who watched her every move with a careful eye, determined to guide her toward a life of wealth and social prestige. Clara longed for freedom, for a spark that could ignite her own desires, away from the pressures of her family and her fiancé, Victor, a charming yet self-centered man chosen by her father as the perfect match. Their paths crossed one afternoon on the promenade deck. Leo, sketchbook in hand, was captivated by the way sunlight danced on the waves, while Clara leaned against the railing, lost in her thoughts. Their eyes met, a silent acknowledgement of curiosity and longing. In that fleeting moment, two worlds collided, one of privilege, the other of dreams. Little did they know, this chance encounter would set the stage for a bond neither wealth nor society could define, and a journey that would test every fiber of their hearts. The year was 1912, and the world was abuzz with excitement. Docked majestically at the harbor was the Aurora, a ship that would soon become the crown jewel of the seas. Gleaming under the morning sun, its towering smokestacks seemed to touch the sky, while its polished decks reflected the anticipation of hundreds of passengers about to embark on the maiden voyage of a lifetime. Every corner whispered luxury. Crystal chandeliers hung from the grand dining halls, velvet-lined cabins promised comfort, and the finest chefs prepared delicacies that would tempt even the most discerning palate. On board, the air was thick with dreams. Wealthy families celebrated their social status. Children ran across the decks in carefree laughter, and artists, adventurers, and wanderers alike marveled at the sheer beauty of the vessel. Yet beneath the splendor, the tides of fate were quietly shifting. The ship, a symbol of human achievement, also carried the unpredictable power of the sea. Among the laughter, the music, and the champagne toasts, a story was about to unfold, one of love that defied social boundaries, choices that challenged tradition, and a disaster that would test the courage of every soul on board. The Aurora was more than a ship. It was a world of dreams, destined to become a legend.
I will carry this love with me always.